women like us, we deserve to have a great relationship with ourselves once and for all. We deserve to prioritize our feelings, our perspective, and our point of view. And we deserve to free ourselves from needing everyone else to be happy or thrilled or 100% approving of who we are, what we say, and what we do.
You've gotten great at divine working, but what about divine living? Welcome to the Divine Living Podcast. I'm your host, Gina DeVee. You're not alone in wanting more, and here at the Divine Living Podcast, you can expect to be part of conversations from women like us who unapologetically dream big and are obsessed with manifesting our most fabulous lives. The conversation starts now.
The end to people pleasing. Wouldn't that be nice? Oh, sister, hello. How are you? It is so good to be here with you today. And I am coming to you queen to queen. You know, I think that wherever we're at on our journey, sometimes we identify more or less as people pleasers. I know at the beginning of mine, I didn't know how much of a people pleaser I was. I didn't think I was codependent. I knew I wanted people to be happy, but I didn't know how much I needed people to like and approve of whatever I had going on in the world. And then as I did my personal development work, like I imagine you are too, like we start to understand that you just can't please everyone all the time, and you can't be all things to all people. And especially when you do give in to what other people want, then you're not pleasing yourself. So it can feel like this like no-win situation. Well, today my hope is that as I work my own process right alongside you, that we maybe don't put a complete end to it, but we diminish it in a really big way. Because women like us, we deserve to have a great relationship with ourselves once and for all. We deserve to prioritize our feelings, our perspective, and our point of view. And we deserve to free ourselves from needing everyone else to be happy or thrilled or 100% approving of who we are, what we say, and what we do. And I got myself stuck in a little bit of a web of what feels like an emotional mess. And I'm going to choose to think differently. I'm going to choose to rise above. I'm going to choose to not further create neurological pathways around a feeling, an emotion, and an experience that I don't desire to continue. So as always, we're going to start today with a prayer, and I invite you to really dive deep with me on this journey as well, because whether you're in a full-blown trigger right now, or you know that one might be around the corner, or you can think of one that you haven't quite resolved from the past, let's bond together. Let's do this together. But first, let's pray. Dear God, I surrender all. I surrender all of the anxiety, the frustration, the needing other people to be happy or like what I have to say or do. I release any thought that I'm not good enough, that someone else isn't good enough. I release the judgment, the fear, and the concern. And in this moment, I return to the oneness that we are all one with you. In this moment, I return to love. For me, this other person, and every person listening. In this moment, I choose to begin again, to rise above and to open to the realm of the miraculous. I open up to the gifts that you have in store for me, the lessons I'm meant to learn, the strength that I'm meant to gain, and the understanding that you desire for me to have. And I pray this prayer for everyone listening who could use some courage, some confidence, some reminding that we're okay, she's okay, and together we seek your divine guidance. And we pray this believing, amen. All right, starting to feel a little better already. So, I think that pretty much every day, all of us wake up with this like, I got this. I'm going to do good today. Or even if we're a little tired and a little burned out or bummed out, we're still like, all right, I'm going to show up. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do good. I'm going to make a difference in the world. I'm going to move my life forward, going to move my business forward. Like, it's another day. And on some level, we know that every day is a gift, particularly in these times. And we're grateful for our lives, our bodies, our businesses, even if everything's not perfect, even if there's frustrations, relationships or otherwise. We're waking up and we're being the queens that we came here to be. And then we're just, I don't know, kind of going along our merry way, doing what we feel is right, saying what we feel to say, and then splat. Something will happen. That text shows up, the email comes in, the Voxer message is talking, someone has a major difference of opinion. And I think that oftentimes when those differences of opinion are laced with someone's right and someone's wrong, it can get sticky. And it can get dark and it can get anxiety ridden. And there's this fine line, and especially, I gotta tell you, I love us women, and there's a lot of things I love about men too. And the way we women, and of course I'm generalizing here, and I'll speak for myself, certainly. The way I've seen me and women in my vortex handle conflict, it's like I preach so much about the feminine principles and the feminine ways and being with the feminine, the spiritual, and the divine, which I do agree, because the feminine is about we. The feminine considers the other person as well as yourself. The feminine is all the wonderful things that it is. And yet sometimes I just would like to take a note from the guy's playbook. I just like to say it the way it is without the repercussion of needing to look all nice and like super spiritual. And it's not even that it's not spiritual. It's like there's this unspoken code of how women are supposed to show up in modern day age and how we're supposed to show up as women entrepreneurs. And it's like we're supposed to do what everyone else thinks is the nice thing to do. And nice can just be camouflaged for manipulation that gets no one anywhere. And so when my particular, I don't know how I want to say this, we'll just go with as clean as possible, difference of opinion first surfaced. I'm real quick to make sure that I do not gossip. I have zero tolerance for gossip from me, about me, through me, for other people, any of it. And there is a place for connection and community. And so there's a couple of mentors that I work with that are, in a private and confidential space. And then every so often, if there's someone in the community who knows the players, would have a certain perspective, I may go to one person in confidence. And this time I went to two, because I really deeply, I didn't need to be right. I wanted to be happy. I really wanted to look at this from every different angle and point of view and get outside of the box and not just be attached to my point of view. And when I did, it was interesting. Two people that I respect to the core, would trust my life with. I told them the circumstances, and both of them just said to me, Gina, take the high road and just give this person what this person wants. And I sat with it and I was like, wow, these are my closest confidants and strong women who have overcome so much, have so much brilliance and wisdom and power and spiritual connection. And that was for them, but that they think that's taking the high road, is to give this other person what they want, regardless of the principle or the circumstances. And I could feel it in me. I could feel this fierceness to be queen. And I was like, actually, the high road is to not give in. And it's not about arguing a point or being defensive. It's about not giving in to be manipulative to get someone to like me or maybe not talk crap about me. And I thought, no, the high road is to speak the truth in love. The high road is to be the queen. The high road is to not collapse and be invisible and just give this other person what the other person wanted. And I could feel how much I did not want to show up for queenhood. I could feel how much easier princess was. Oh, just be like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I can see your point. Here you go. Be invisible. Basically lie. Say what's not true for me just so that this other person would be happy, and not even necessarily happy, but like happy with me or like me, or I don't even know what. And I thought, you know what? I'm not doing it. I am not self-abandoning. I'm not here to make me right and the other person wrong. I am here to be here for myself and my point of view. And my point of view wasn't changed. It didn't change my point of view. It didn't change the facts to just be like, okay, you can have what you want in this circumstance. It took so much bravery and courage, and I could feel how much I did not want to even speak the truth in love and lovingly confront. It would have been so much easier to be invisible. And yet these are some of my lessons. And maybe if you're listening here, there's some of yours as well. And so I went and spoke the truth in love and totally held the space for the other person to speak their point of view in love. And it went back and forth and back and forth. And it was like this volley. And it got to a point where we'd let time go by in between. And every time we spoke, we were like each saying the same thing. And I just really had to again speak my truth. I felt like the politically correct thing to do was to keep talking and keep processing and keep being available for a conversation that in truth I wasn't available for. And for a while I was too afraid to say it because I thought I had to at least make sure that I was, and I did want to make sure that I was considering every perspective. And when it came to a point where it was very clear that there was an impasse, we both saw this circumstance differently. And one thing that I've learned from Glenn and from a lot of men in my life, they'll just agree to disagree. They'll be like, dude, it's not the way it is for me. It's like, I'm not okay with that. And I'm not okay with that. And then they're like, all right, you want to go out, have a beer? It's like, they don't make it this torturous team so-and-so and team so-and-so. And I'll never speak to this person again. And they don't necessarily burn bridges over it and the whole thing. And I thought, you know what? That's what I'm aiming for here. I'm going to speak my truth. In this moment, feel free to give myself permission to be in the masculine and call it. The masculine is kind of a direct thing. The feminine is more circular. And after the conversation I had earlier today, I just said, you know what? I don't see us seeing this differently. We both have our own points of view. And I wish that we had found a more common ground, and we haven't. And I'm going to choose to be okay with that. I'm going to choose to agree to disagree. And it's time to move on. It's time to complete it. And I think that for so many women, and for me in the past, it's been so hard to do. And it was not easy for me to even do it today. And yet this is what I am committed to. I'm committed to the up level. I'm committed to taking responsibility, learning the lessons, and then moving on, queen. It's what we all must do. Think different thoughts. What's in the past is in the past. There were plenty of things that both me and this other person absolutely agreed we would have done differently. Absolutely agreed in hindsight that, things could have been clearer. And too many women just see the nagging and the continuing to show up and the continuing to call it processing when it's not processing. Processing needs to get you forward advancement and get you moving in a new direction, get you to a place of some sort of resolve. And I could feel how tempted I was to stay unresolved and to feel icky in the unresolved. And I think that so much of what 2020 has taught us is that the uncertainty living in the question, like that is actually also the place of the feminine. The concrete, the tangible, it's the masculine. And so one of my lessons here today is learning how to feel at peace when the issues are not resolved between me and this other person. And what I mean by that is there's these differing points of view. To also, I felt the temptation to close my heart towards this person because I was angry and irritated and whatever else. And I'm like, no, in speaking the truth in love, you can stay in love. I can stay in love. I can continue to love and respect this person. Absolutely. And that, I had to pry my heart open so that I could go to the next level. And I think that in the past, I've done so much damage, and I see women do so much damage when there's a disagreement or an impasse. It doesn't need to be catastrophic. The bridge doesn't have to be burned. And this, you never know how life zigs and zags and up and down are going to go. And it doesn't necessarily even mean, I don't know that this other person feels or will ever feel the same way. And it's okay. You get to choose your feeling. You get to choose open-heartedness. You get to choose to agree to disagree and stay in the agreement energy rather than the disagreement energy. And from this place, you also get to be committed to the forward movement. Let the past be the past. And I think sometimes we can hold on so tightly to the regret or the revenge or the disappointment or the anxiety or whatever the feelings come up with things not being resolved. And I say that is a place for surrender. Thank goodness we have relationship with God, right? Thank goodness we have relationship with Spirit, because there comes a point when, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, when you've done all you can do to stand, then stand. And you surrender it. You have no idea what part this plays in the evolution of the other person. You have no idea how this contributes to their destiny. The only thing that we know for sure is that we can take personal responsibility to learn our lessons, and we can take personal responsibility to move forward and to allow ourselves and other people, by the way, to make mistakes. I made a number of mistakes in this path, and this other person self-admittedly did as well. And just, we women were so hard on ourselves, and we're also then so hard on other women as well. Let the mistakes be made. It's not a big deal. You can crack an egg and have the eggshell and dump it out and crack another egg. It's okay. And of course, we're not doing this frivolously, and we're not doing this nonchalantly. These are people and emotions and life circumstances and business and whatever. And let's start to lighten up more easily. Let's start to forgive faster. Forgive yourself faster. Forgive the other person faster. Move on in love. It is such a big universe out there. There's so much opportunity. And you know what? Reality is always kinder than our story about it. God is so much more compassionate, so much more loving than we women can be towards ourselves and towards others. And it almost feels like making a mistake is the cardinal sin. We're just destined for the depths of despair if we aren't absolutely perfect in every single way. Most of the time I talk about, ladies, queens, time to raise our standards. In this case, I think that raising our standards is actually lowering them. Let's lower the bar for what we deem to be acceptable. And let's stop needing little Miss Perfect to be the only one who can be okay and safe in the world. Let's let ourselves be messy. Let's try things out. And that's how we're going to discover how to be successful is from the, alleged, I don't even want to say the word failure, the mistakes, the sloppiness, the messiness. Nobody shows up and is you know what? I'm going to try to ruin this relationship today. I'm going to try to do this, whatever it is you're working on, write this sales page, launch this product, do this, whatever. And I'm going to see how many just mess ups I can make along the way. I'm going to see what a poor job I can do. Said no one ever. And so as we learn to be more loving, forgiving, compassionate, less hard on ourselves, then we have that to give others as well. Then we get to really show up like the queens that we are, because the princesses are the ones that think everything needs to be perfect. That's like what I talked about in my book. I wrote a whole chapter on Little Miss Perfect needs to die, because the perfectionism is killing us, and it's killing our relationships, and it's killing our confidence. Like when we do one thing, I even found myself getting like so exaggerated in my thinking, and like, well, I'm never going to do anything like that ever again. Really, Gina? Like, glad you're not dramatic. Please. That was not the divine message. There were many divine messages on this particular journey, but to never show up in this context ever again is not one of them. That's just beating myself up. And I don't want to beat myself up anymore. And I don't want you to beat yourself up if you've been doing anything of the sort. And I don't want you to beat up anyone else either. And I'm choosing to not emotionally or energetically or psychically beat up this other person. Everyone tried. Everyone did their best. And sometimes there's a difference of opinion. And sometimes things don't turn out the way you anticipated or the way you dreamed of. And that is okay. It's more than okay. It's the way it was meant to be. If it was supposed to turn out differently, it would have. There's jewels and gifts and richness and wisdom when you approach every situation like a queen. We talk so much about the journey of Queen Esther, and the royal road is not an ordinary one. And part of the depth and wisdom and peace and strength of a queen is that she gets life. The queen in you gets life, all of it, the totality of it. The humor and the sorrow, the excitement and the despair, when things are in flow and when things feel conflicted or obstructed. And when we learn to love all of it, all of the life circumstances, all of the ways in which every single experience, no matter how good it felt or how miserable we made ourselves in the process, our feelings are a choice. And if we choose to focus on the positive, whoo, don't you feel the queenhood? If you choose to focus on claiming your power and taking the personal responsibility, whoo, if you choose to let yourself begin again, oh yes, if you choose to love another even in the space of the disagreement, boom, queenhood, queenhood, queenhood. Let's just keep saying yes to it all, soaking up all the lessons, all the jewels, brushing ourselves off, moving forward with grace, and allowing the same for everyone else also. When I hung up the phone with this particular conversation, I will admit I was not feeling awesome. I hadn't had enough capacity to own that I get to choose my feeling in that moment. I was kind of in an automatic default mode. And I not too quickly, because there's a purpose, right? Goodness. So I had another call the very next moment. And even though I was emotionally rattled from what I've just shared, I jumped on the next call and, oh my goodness, the experience was somebody I know who was so filled with love and was having such a great day and was just so like, hey, what's going on for you? And then also, and I was like, I was real, I was transparent. I, had said that I was a bit rattled and just had been through a certain situation. And she's like, well, I think I've got some news that's going to change your mood. And oh my goodness, like an ultimate dream speaking experience. is what was presented to me. She's like, Gina, I was talking to some people and we needed one more speaker for this particular circumstance or event. And I brought up your name and they said, yes, absolutely. And I just knew it was divine guidance. Like, get your lessons, Gina, and move forward. Because the universe has opportunity after opportunity after opportunity lined up. And nobody's this good or bad person that I think so oftentimes we've been programmed with. And nobody's right or wrong. And everyone gets to have the human experience. And when you open up yourself to the greater human experience, you get to choose what you focus on. You get to choose your feeling. And yes, sometimes it is prying your heart open to get yourself to the higher vibrational feeling or thought or focus. Queen, you have what it takes. And when the mind starts to drift off, you bring it back. And even if you're not jumping on a phone with a friend who has a super cool speaking opportunity that's going to be so much fun, I got to tell you, go to God. Because God has your opportunities waiting. God has the answer. God has the healing. God has the up level. God has the focus of where you are meant to be focused on right here, right now. And I can promise you, it is never about lack. It is never about fear. That is not what God ever intends for you to focus on. It's never about being wronged. It's never about any of the lower vibrational stuff. It's look up, it's lift up, it's do what you know to do and surrender the rest. There are prayers that I will say about this past experience that I'm turning over to the angels and God. And whatever needs to happen and whatever that outcome is, that's now in their hands. Because what's in mine is exactly what I've just shared here. My job is queenhood to the best of my ability, and my job is queenhood as queenhood is defined by me. Your job is queenhood to the best of your ability, and your version of queen is defined by you as well. You get to call what queenhood is. You get to call what's right for you. You get to set your boundaries. You get to be visible. And yes, you get to be fierce and you get to confront. And that gets to be what you call the high road. No longer do you need to bow to any form of people pleasing that's just going to have you feeling sick when it's all said and done. And most of the time, that other person's not going to really like you that much anyways, because they're going to feel on some level it's not really true. They're going to get that they bullied you into something, or they convinced you or pressured you or pushed you. That doesn't feel good to anyone. It only feels good when it's a real yes. So when we make other people the source of their opinion, the source of our happiness, the source of our safety, the source of our peace, we turn our backs on God. So I say, give God his rightful position and give it back to him, and continue to make God's spirit in the universe source. And let other people be exactly who they are. They're just other people. No more or less. Don't make their voice louder. Don't give them your power. Don't make them right or wrong. Be there for yourself and let God do the rest. Don't fall prey to the people pleasing. It's beneath you, Queen. Because let me tell you, there's whatever your version is of stages for you to speak on, money to make, lives to impact, enthusiasm and encouragement to give, whatever it is that is in your next level, you're going to magnetize it and draw it closer to you so much faster. So much faster. When you've done your work, collect your lessons, take your personal responsibility, and move forward, Queen. That's why you're here. That's what you're meant for. And that's what you've got waiting for you when you drop the people pleasing. Yes, Queen, yes. Can you feel the truth that we're standing in? All this sparkliness? I gotta tell you, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for the story. I'm here for all of it. I'm here for your suggestions for how else this Divine Living podcast can be in service to you. So come on over to Instagram. Follow me on Instagram if you're not already at Gina DeVee, and DM me. I want to know, you can take a screenshot of this episode. Let me know what your big takeaway was from it, but also DM me. Let me get to know you. What's going on with you on this subject of people pleasing? In what way can you leave it behind? Face your fear of confrontation and really be there for yourself. And I'm always, always, always open to your suggestions on what other topics can I cover for you. So write me a DM and let me know if you want me to mention your name, if I pick your topic and I could read your letter here. And because if I pick it, I think that's going to be really relevant to a lot of other people as well. So join me over on Instagram. Let's keep this conversation alive and know you and God are a majority. God bless. Lots of love. All right, Queen, did you love this episode and know someone who would love it too? I would love for you to leave a review on iTunes and share this podcast over Instagram. Tag me at Gina DeVee. And thank you for Queens supporting Queens and for your continued support.